recording to you. Okay, so let me just open my
Okay.
Excel sheet and let's just discuss that what this chapter has in. Now, the very first thing that do you know what the word overhead means?
Overheads, they're like indirect expenses.
Exactly. As you know that indirect expenses are also known as overhead cost, right? And
Yeah.
why an expense is known as an indirect expense? Because it is the type of expense that is actually or that cannot be classified directly with a specific product, right? It is a kind of expense you can say that is in general. It does not specifies a specific department. It does not specifies to a specific product. So what we do is that whenever this kind of overhead, or we can say that indirect expense occur, we then look out that why it has occurred, right? Whenever an indirect expense occurs, we then look out that why it has occurred, which departments were the reason of incurring this expense, right? And once we have identified the list of departments that were involved in incurring this expense, we divide this, not divide, we distribute this expense over these departments using some certain techniques, right? Are you clear until here?
Yes, sir, I understand.
Okay, perfect. Now, Now, in accounting for overheads, we basically what we do is that we base this accounting for overhead has major four classifications, or you can say that it is divided in four sections, right? Although primarily it is three, but for understanding purpose, I have written four. Number one, it is known as allocation. Number two, it is known as apportionment. Number three, it is known as a reapportionment. Actually, apportionment and reapportionment are not separately identified. They're combined together, but I have written separately here for understanding purpose. And number four, we have absorption, right? Now, see, when I talk about expenses, so there are direct expenses that you already know, right? And then there are indirect expenses. Now, if we talk about direct expenses, so you already know this that they are directly given or directly attributable to a product. Obviously, it is a direct expense. So, direct expense means it is a direct cost, right? So, it will directly be given to a product. But indirect expenses, they cannot be directly given, right? So what we do is that in order to distribute the cost of an indirect expense on the product, we go through four processes, four sections, four steps that are totally combined and known as accounting for overhead. Now, the very first section, if we talk about, it is the easiest one, that is known as allocation. What is allocation? Allocation means that giving or allotting an entire class of, not class, an entire expense cost, or I will just write expense, to one department, or I can write to single department, as that department was the sole reason for that expense. Now, if we again read the definition, so it says that allocation is the process of giving or allotting an entire expense. The very first thing that you need to highlight here is this. In allocation, what happens that you deal with an entire expense. You do not distribute it, but you pick out an entire expense and you give it to a single department. And why you are giving an entire expense to a single department? Because that department was the reason of incurring that expense. For example, let me give you an example that there is a very small business, okay, and in that business they have a kitchen, okay, and obviously you know that in kitchen you prepare food, and for food purpose you need gas. Got it? Now kitchen is the only department in the entire building, you can say, or in the entire business that uses gas. Okay. So at the end of the month, when the business will be charged with the gas bill, so gas bill will be allotted or allocated to kitchen. Okay. So the kitchen caretaker will be given this bill, and he or she will be responsible to pay the bill afterwards. Obviously, he's not going to pay from his own pocket, but the bill is going to be allotted or allocated in the name of kitchen department. Are you clear so far?
Yes, sir, I understand.
Perfect.
Mhm.
So what you simply need to remember is whenever you are given that this entire expense is due to this department, simply put that expense in that department's head or a section, and this process is known as allocation. There is no practical calculations involved in this section. Why? Because it is a straightforward section. You are given an expense that has already been incurred. All you need to do is that divide this expense or put this expense in the right category of the department, right? So there was nothing more in allocation other than this. Then we come on the next and one of the most important section that basically provides the fundamental basis for the upcoming two sections as well. Apportionment. What is apportionment? Apportionment mean or apportionment is the process of distributing an overhead cost among different departments that incurred it on fair basis. Please remember that apportionment never means dividing. Okay, I'm writing here
Okay.
also. It never mean dividing. Sometimes what happens that in MCQ, in exam MCQ, the examiner can give you a kind of definition that which of the following is the correct definition of apportionment. And one of the definition will be saying that apportionment is dividing the cost equally between the department. This is a wrong definition. Okay. All,
Okay.
well, yes, please.
So sir, if they do say that the cost is dividing, then what would that be for? Like, what definition would that match?
Yes, when they have provided you the data that the all departments are equally contributing in the expense, then that is still apportionment. But here they have specified that the contribution is equally, right?
Okay.
But in general circumstances, or you can say in majority of the cases, apportionment is never, is like just you have a cost and you just divide it by two department or three department. No, it's not about that. Okay, there can be a case like that, right? There might be two departments that are equally dividing the electricity bill. The reason might be that they are having equal number of bulbs or fans, or they might be using equal number of electricity units, right? So there are certain reasons behind that. But majority or in major cases, apportionment simply means that you distribute an overhead cost among the departments that are incurring that overhead cost on the basis on fair basis. Now, this word fair basis that I have written in this definition, this is also very important. You are going to see it a lot from now onwards. Fair basis mean, and this fair basis explanation is a very fundamental section in your higher exams like performance management as well. Fair basis means that whenever you are going to decide that, okay, I want to distribute an overhead cost, you need to identify, I'm writing here that you need to identify why or what factors are the reasons behind that cost. So when you are having a cost and you need to divide that cost or distribute that cost on fair basis among the departments, you need to work on this. You need to identify that what are the reasons due to which this cost is increasing. For example, a very basic example I'm giving you here, electricity bill. Now, electricity bill will be divided or will be distributed among the departments on the basis of electricity units consumed, right? Is that correct? At the end of each month, it will be calculated that how much each department has consumed the electricity unit. There will be an per unit rate of the electricity, and the number of units consumed will be multiplied by that rate, right? So don't you think that this is a much sensible approach towards distributing the electricity bill rather than equally dividing the electricity bill between departments? Let me explain this thing like this way. You have four departments in a business, okay? A, B, C, and D. Now, department A is just 500 square meters, okay? I'm just writing SQL. Department B is the largest department. It is 2,500 square meters. Department C is the normal one, 1,000 square meter. And Department D is also normal. It's 1,200 square meter. Okay. I hope you are catching me. Now, they calculated that the monthly electricity cost that they got, so electric bill that they had that month was $10,000. Okay. Now, the very first thing is equal. If you just divide this bill equally, so how much each department is going to contribute in the bill? $2,500, right? Every department will be charged with an equal amount of $2,500. But the manager of the department A will raise the concern that my department is the smallest one. Why I am being charged the same amount as the department B, which is the largest department in the business, right? This is a very valid reason. I hope you are understanding this. So this basically was the reason that rejected this approach that we cannot simply and directly divide the overhead cost on equal basis. That is why we need to identify the reasons and the factors that were causing that overhead to incur. And then we will see that, okay, which department is the major reason behind that overhead factors. We will charge them with higher cost, and those departments that are contributing less will be charged accordingly. So what is now going to happen, that this 10,000 is going to be divided on the basis of size. This means that department A is going to get the lowest electricity bill, and department B is going to get the highest electricity bill. I'm repeating it again, that electricity bill being an overhead cost is being divided on the basis of size of the department. So this size of the department actually refers to what? It refers to the fair basis of apportionment. I hope you are clear so far. Are you clear, or do you have any question?
Yes, sir, I understand.
Perfect. Right. So now the next question arises. that, okay, we have identified fair basis, we have identified the reasons, everything is done. But how we are going to calculate that, right? How we are going to get the answers of, division of this $10,000? So there are two methods for that. Method one, I'm going to tell you both methods. Whichever method you feel is easy or can understand better, you are free to use that method. Okay. Method two is actually my favorite method. Okay. So whenever I used to teach the subject physically as well, so I always use this method too. Method one was like very few times. So talking about the method one, you need to calculate total cost. What was the total cost here? $10,000, right? And what was the total size? So if you get the total of this, so that is going to be like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, and two
So
hundred.
do you divide it with the total cost and then multiply it by the size to find out how much overhead
That
goes
that
to
is
each
also,
section?
yeah, that is also another method. That is method two actually, right? I'm currently,
Yeah, that's my favorite method
yeah,
too.
same here. I already wrote that. That's also my favorite as well, right? So the very first method is like you just calculate the total cost, then you just calculate the total size. Just see that if I have calculated the size correct. Then what you need to do, you basically calculate cost per square meter, right? So what you simply do, $10,000 divided by 5,200 square meters, that is going to give you cost per square meter. So that is going to give you around 1 point, or you can say just make it $2 per square meter, right? This means that each square meter is going to cost, or you can say going to contribute $2 in the electricity bill. This means that department A is of 500 square meter. So 500 square meter into 2 makes $1,000. So out of 10,000, only 1,000 is going to be given to A department. Now I'm going to go direct. So I hope you are understanding. $5,000 for department B, $2,000 for department C, and $2,400 for department D. Now this is known as fair basis apportionment. Are you clear so far? Yes, Isha, are you clear?
Yes, I understand.
Perfect. This was the first method. Okay. Now the second method that you already told me. Now, how we basically write that method? So, assuming that you know that method, so I'm just going to directly apply that method. So, what basically, now, for instance, okay. So, for instance, we are calculating the cost for the department A. So, we will write in numerator the departmental factor. Okay. Now, what is the departmental factor? The fair basis of apportionment that is being used here. So A has this, you are basically apportioning the cost on the basis of size. So size will be your departmental factor, yeah, or the factor or the overhead factor, whatever you want to name, you can name it. As we are doing it for department A, so the size of department A will be written in numerator. The total size, that was 5,200, of all the departments will be written in denominator, multiplied by the total cost that is to be apportioned. This is how this formula is written, and this is known as apportionment formula, as referred to in your book. So let me just,
Wait, sir, can you just tell me what one equal means to?
sure,
Means
I'm going
like,
to repeat that for the other department. Don't just let me quickly calculate this one. So nine 61 will dollars will be the cost that will be given to A. Now for B, what we are going to do is In the numerator, you need to write the size of the department B. So always remember that numerator it relates to the department that you are calculating the cost for. So in
Okay.
for B department in numerator we will write 2500 divide by the total of all the department size multiply by 10,000. So when I just apply this in formula then so that is going to be 2500 by 5200 multiplied by 10,000, 4,800 something is the answer. And same is the process that you can go with department C and department D. This is the apportionment formula method, and the first one was fair basis apportionment method. Are you clear on the both methods?
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, at FMA level, you can definitely expect that this type of simple questions will not be examinable, and these were the part in MA1 and MA2. More complex questions will be examined, right? When you will start practicing these questions, so you will see that the major questions always mention departments like you can sorry I'm saying department, my bad. In major questions you will see that the overhead cost that is to be apportioned in that question will majorly be number one, electricity bill.
Sorry, sir, one moment.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay. So I was saying that in major questions, when you are going to practice, you will see that whenever they talk about the overhead cost that is to be apportioned, they will mostly be talking about electricity bill, rent,
Yeah.
depreciation. They will be talking about let's not put maintenance here. Electricity bill, rent, depreciation, insurance. Then we have these are the major ones.
Yeah.
So you need to remember that electricity bill can be divided on or can be used as an apportionment for you can say the very first is like size of the department, right? And second, it can also be apportioned on the basis of electricity units. Okay, so these are some common bases of apportionment that when you will solve the question, so you will memorize them. Rent is sometimes charged on the basis of size, that is square meters. Okay, majorly it is size. Yes, rent is majorly on the size basis. And size, what I mean from size, that size will always be in square meters. Okay, square meter square. Whenever they talk about the depreciation, so depreciation is basically on the basis of machine hours. Okay, majorly it's on the basis of machine hour. The more machine hours are being used in a specific department, the more depreciation cost that department will be bearing. Insurance cost, now that depends that what type of insurance that is, but here we will assume that it is relating to production department. So you can write that cost of machinery involved or cost of machine in department. So the department that will be having a very expensive machine will be allocate given the high insurance cost, and and that department that has very cheap machine cost, so they will be given less insurance cost. So I just at the moment I'm remembering four, but definitely when you will be practicing, you will be seeing two, three more as well. That you will came to know that these are some bases of the apportionment that every time they remains the same. Okay. Now, uh, this was apportionment, right? This was something that you had already, discussed in MA2 as well. And even though in FMA, this is all relating to the apportionment. Okay, there is nothing else more in this section. This was all. Okay. Now coming towards the third section, that is reapportionment. Now this is an important and a large section here. Reapportionment, first of all, I will write the definition here. Reapportionment specifically deals with apportionment of service cost centers to production cost center. Now, before coming to this definition, I need to tell you what are two types of cost centers. As you can see from the names I have written, there are two types of cost centers. And what is a cost center? Cost center is in any department that incurs cost. Okay, and every department in a company is basically a cost center. Okay, there are two types of cost centers: service cost center and production cost center. Production cost centers, from its name, are those cost centers that are primary and that are majorly involved in production. So obviously, your production department is going to be your only production cost center. Okay. Service cost centers are those centers that are not directly linked with production, but they just provide some services, some you can say that some support and some help to production cost centers to work properly. Okay, I hope you have gotten the idea. Let me provide you an example. Production cost centers will always be production, but service cost centers will include, I'm writing right under it, service cost centers will majorly in FMA section will include canteen, maintenance department, stores department, and these are the three major ones. Yes. Canteen, maintenance, and store. These are the three major service cost centers that you are going to see in FMA section. Okay. Sometimes the fourth one might be a different one, but that's, sometimes. Now, the second question is, what is the difference between apportionment and reapportionment? So, Isha, can you tell me that what is the reason, what is the difference between apportionment and reapportionment? Like why we
Um,
study them in two different stages? Why not just combine them everything in one? So why it's like apportionment first
because
and then
service
reapportionment?
cost centers like canteens, for example, they wouldn't really have.
Go on. Hello, Isha, can you hear me? Hello, Isha, can you hear me? Hello, Isha, I cannot hear you.
Hi, sir. I
Yes.
was saying that I'm not really sure.
Are you sure you just said that?
I also said that cost centers, they might not incur lots of overheads compared to the other cost centers, like production cost centers, because rent doesn't really relate to service cost centers, but cost centers are still included in production
Hmm.
ones,
Hmm.
because like workers eat food, so
Yes.
a canteen would obviously be in a production center, but it's not related to production, so they just apportion all the overheads to the production areas.
Okay. Yes, what you said is also true, right? Now let me tell you the thing behind is, okay, it's very boring to be very honest, but it is what it is. What happens is at the end of the month, you get rent, rent cost, okay, and you have to pay the rent of $12,000. Okay. There are four departments, let's say two production and two service. Okay. Now
Okay,
rent will be divided among how many departments? Four departments. Two will be production, two will be service. I'm giving you an example. So let's say on two production departments, you have apportioned the rent of around $8,000. And
okay,
on the two service centers, let's say that you have apportioned the remaining rent that is going to be $4,000. Got it? This is apportionment. This part or this step is apportionment, in which what we do, we apportion a general overhead Okay, I'm writing it as GOH, general overhead among departments. There is no bifurcation of production and service. Okay, there is a general overhead,
Okay.
and that is apportioned among departments, all the departments. Now that will include service, that will include production. There is no separate mention of it. After this step, what
Okay.
happens? Service centers will get some cost, but service centers are not doing service of their own. They are actually helping the production cost centers, right? So by
Yeah.
law and by common sense, obviously the cost that a service cost center is incurring should be charged to production cost centers, right? So then
Yeah.
in next step, what you do, you charge this over 4,000 entirely to production cost center. So this is apportionment and this is a reapportionment. So in reapportionment, simply the apportioned cost that is apportioned to service cost centers in the first step is apportioned back to production cost centers, right? So at the end of
Okay.
the day, you would say that the entire rental cost is paid by which departments? Production departments, right? Because they are the main departments in the in the factory, right? But the way
Yeah.
of doing this is by going through two formal processes, apportionment and reapportionment. I hope now this is clear to you.
Yeah, it's clear now, sir.
Perfect. So this is a major difference between apportionment and reapportionment and why we study it separately, right? So, so I was telling you about that in reapportionment, what happens is that service cost centers provide service to production cost centers. There are three
Yeah.
types of reapportionment methods, two that you have already read, one in MA1, one in MA2, and the third and the final one is the introduction in FMA. So we will be discussing about three types of reapportionment methods.
Okay.
The very first method is direct method. That is the simplest method. And in this method, what is going to happen? Please make sure that you are uh, giving attention to my words in this definition, that each service cost center will only provide service to production cost center. So what I have written, please revise it, that each service cost center will provide service to only production cost center. This means that there is only one way of providing service. That one service cost center is giving service to the other production centers. Okay. So in this type of method, what you simply do, that you simply apportion the cost of service that I just explained in this example, that this is the cost of the service cost center, 4,000. You will simply apportion it to the production cost centers. And how you are going to apportion it? So you are going to use again these two methods. Okay.
Okay.
The only
Yeah.
difference is in apportionment, we are dealing with general overhead. In reapportionment, we will be dealing with the service cost center. So I will also
But
give
we
you
use the
one example.
same method,
Yes,
right?
it is the same method. It is the
Okay.
exact copy. I will give you the example and you will be very much clear. I will give you a simple example, right? So we do not waste much of the time. And you can highly expect that direct method is not examinable in FMA because this is MA1 section, right? So what will be examinable in FMA will be step down method, the second one. So I'm not giving this method much of the time, okay? So what
Okay.
happens in direct method? Just immediately assume that there is production one department and there is production two department. There is service one department. There is service two department. So two production and two service departments. Okay. So we are assuming that service one. Let me write here. That service center one is providing 40% service to P1, that is production center one, and 60% to P2. And we assume that service cost center 2 is providing 70% to P1 and 30% to P2. Okay. So direct method says that S1, that is service centered, is only providing service to which departments? Production departments. So this clearly means that whatever the cost of service department, service cost center one will be, 40% of it will be given to P1, 60% will be given to P2. If you want to do it by the methods that I have taught you just now, so you are going to, let's say we have written that we are having X dollars overhead cost. It will be multiplied with, let's say if we are doing it for P1, so P1 will be represented by 40 in the numerator, and 40 plus 60 is 100. So 100 will be in the denominator. So see, this is the apportionment formula that I just told you right here. Got it? Yeah, Isha, are you clear?
Yes, sir, I understand.
Perfect. So direct method is all about this, right? Simply just remember one small thing, that service centers will only provide service to production. This means whatever the cost of service is, just apportion it to production centers. That's all. There is nothing else in the direct method. Now, next comes the main one, that is step down method that was introduced. That basically is introduced at the MA2 level. Uh, In step down method, there is an added complexity. And what is that added complexity? At FMA level, it's like this, that service, now I'm going to write a small, service cost center will provide service to production cost center as well as another service cost center. Or I will highlight this word, another service cost. What is the added complexity here? That what was previously happening, that service centers were only providing service to production centers, right? But in step down method, the added complexity is, let me first of all adjust the ratios, then I will tell you. Now in step down method, the added complexity is that this service to department is providing 50% service to production one